Hey, welcome back to Punk Politics, and here to tide you over while I work on the next full Punk Politics video is a look at one of the most controversial figures in modern British politics. Lee Anderson, or Leanderthal, as we affectionately refer to him on this channel, is the Deputy Chairman of the Conservative Party and has been since Rishi Sunak came under pressure to give a cabinet role to someone from the Crayola Wall. Until recently, the Conservatives have been dominated by home counties, privately educated posh types. Brexit changed all that, and in a February 2023 appointment, Anderson became the first cognitively challenged cabinet minister in British history, if you don't count Liz Truss, which I'm assuming none of us do anymore. Anyway, since his election as the Conservative MP for Ashfield, you may have noticed that, rather than addressing problems that are amplified in the papers, Leanderthal himself has become the news story. I'm not kidding. Between his GB News appearances, interviews and statements in the House of Commons, he's carved a reputation for himself as the coin-op cunt of modern politics. Let's take a look at some of his hits now, or lowlights as it were, and by all means let me know what you think of this melon in the comments below.
Stood on this spot a few months ago banging on about nuisance tenants, the fact they were making people's lives a complete misery. Right, so my plan would be, and again this is just my own personal opinion, is that these people who have to live somewhere, let's have them in a tent in the middle of a field, 6 o'clock every morning, let's have a walk, let's have them in the fields, picking potatoes or any current seasonable vegetables, back in the tent, cold shower, lights out, 6 o'clock, the same the next day. That would be my solution.
It's almost like it's been set up for us.
Set up? Well, more than I'd realised, for it was only after Lee Anderson had left us that my cameraman producer had the chance to tell me that because Anderson was wearing one of our radio microphones, we'd managed to record him setting up the apparently spontaneous doorstep encounter beforehand. Watch and listen. You can just see Anderson on the phone behind me.
Don't just make out you don't make out you know who I am. You know I'm the candidate, but not a friend. All right. I'm at staff car park. Have a quick look. Yeah. All right, I'll see you in a minute. See you, bye.
At the time, Anderson said the call was merely about campaign material.
Right, best turn this off. Some leaflets have just come for me, so.
In all my years filming elections, I've long suspected that certain candidates have set up friendly voters to make them look that much more popular. But this is the first time we've caught some candidates.
I do want to watch the England match. It's the first time ever in my life I've not watched England games. Maybe I'm a bit lucky for them at the moment by not watching them. They seem to keep winning. I took a decision, not just football. I said any sporting event where the competitors or players before the event take the knee, I couldn't support it because I see it as a divisive symbol. I see it associated with Black Lives Matter.
Obviously, over the past 24 hours, I've seen some more nonsense being spouted out through the media about, nurses, or not just nurses, but people on 30-odd grand having to use food banks. We've seen the story a few weeks back about nurses stealing leftover scraps of food from patients' plates. I'm calling this nonsense out, John. It is nonsense. I don't know any nurses or public sector workers on 30-odd grand using food banks. And if they are, I mean, my colleague Simon Clark was quite right. If they are, they probably need some budgeting skills.
My invitation is to everybody on that side of the house. Come to Ashfield and work with me. When people come now for a food parcel, they have to register for a budgeting course and a cooking course, and we can make a meal for about 30 pence a day.
Should it be necessary to have food banks in 21st century Britain?
There's not this massive use for food banks in this country. We've got generation after generation who cannot cook properly, they can't cook a meal from scratch, they cannot budget.
New Year.
Happy New Year!
But you've not got a new job yet, have you?
Still
same old job. You're still a parasite, you're still a scrounger, and you're still a malignant.
Nice
People to say the same employment, isn't it?
Get off! Get off!
Get off!
Get off!
Lee, he nearly lamped you there, didn't he? He
it.
can't take a piece of his own medicine, that utter loser.
I mean, the man is a professional nuisance. It's about time he was carted off to a funny farm somewhere.
Bringing the death penalty back. Do you think Rishi Sunak chose him to be deputy chair of the Conservative Party in order to make the argument for the return of the death penalty?
No. 30p Lee is a loose cannon and a liability, and 2 days into the job, we will have Downing Street disowning him for the first time.
Lee, not for the first time. You have caused total and utter outrage because you've told illegal immigrants to F off back to France if they don't like going on the barges, the Bibi Stockholm, in Portland Harbour. Lee, you know, all of us at times in life go a bit too far, and we need to admit perhaps we've made a bit of a mistake. Are you apologising for the words you've uttered?
No.
We've seen protesters once again in Parliament Square, setting up some sort of Glastonbury on Thames gazebo with some pretty poor artists, if memory serves me right. So do you agree with the recommendations? I think it was by the policy exchange that there should be zero tolerance to these sort of events, and we shouldn't be putting up with antisocial behaviour. And just this morning, we've seen protesters on Whitehall around Parliament Square, probably as you was coming into the building. Do you think it's time that you left the Ivory Tower and got out there on Whitehall and sorted these people out? Because, you know, people of London, the tourists, the people that work at this place, and, you know, the taxi drivers, the bus drivers, they're getting fed up of it, and you're just letting it happen. You've got the powers now to do this.
So there's current bill bouncing around Parliament which hasn't come in yet, so those powers aren't in existence yet.
It's not strictly true, is it? You can move these people on. They're obstructing the highway.
So we could have a long conversation about public order law.
No, but why are you not moving them on?
Well, because you're making selective comments based on a partial understanding of the law. I do not want Londoners disrupted any more than anybody else does, but the law is very clear that protest is disruptive, and to a reason and to a certain extent that is allowed. That is what the law says at the moment. Now, you might not like that, but I have to work to the law rather than rather than whim. It is right.
It's not, Commissioner, but
it's you might want to believe that the law says that no disruption is allowed whatsoever through protest, but that is not the case.
I think you might want to believe, Commissioner, that you know that you're doing your job correctly. I don't think you are. But I'm just going to ask one more question. I'll make one more statement because I feel like I'm wasting my time with you, to be honest. You say you took 5 years out of the force. There's probably people listening to this today wish it was a lot longer, and I'm one of them.
Now, the fact also, they've got these children on ADHD. I don't believe a lot of that. I think some of it's just bad parenting.